In the cold, hard calculus of legacy, perfection is the only argument that brooks no dissent. It is the unassailable peak, the flawless diamond in a career of mere gemstones. For 18 games and 3/4 of a Super Bowl, Tom Brady and the 2007 New England Patriots were not just a football team. They were a force of nature, a relentless predatory machine systematically devouring the NFL record book and every opponent placed in front of them. They were on the precipice of achieving what no team in the 16-game era had ever done, of cementing a 19-0 season that would have silenced every critic, ended every greatest of all-time debate before it could even begin, and enshrining them as the single most dominant entity in the history of American professional sports. They were 2 minutes and 42 seconds away, and then, in the span of one impossible, physics-defying, soul-crushing play, it all vanished. The story of the Patriots' perfect season is not a story of their 18 victories. It is the story of their one catastrophic failure. It is the story of a miracle that was not theirs, a desperate heave, a scrambling quarterback, a helmet, and a catch that would forever chain the legend of Tom Brady to the ghost of what should have been. To understand the magnitude of the fall, one must first appreciate the dizzying, almost monotonous height of the ascent. The 2007 New England Patriots were not born in training camp. They were forged in the fires of controversy and heartbreak. The previous season had ended in the AFC Championship game in Indianapolis, a stunning collapse where a 21-3 halftime lead melted away, denying Brady a fourth ring and sending the Colts to the Super Bowl. The Patriots, a dynasty built on defense and cold efficiency, felt they had grown soft, vulnerable. The response was not subtle. In the offseason, they embarked on a spending spree of unprecedented aggression, acquiring the league's top linebacker, Adalius Thomas, and, most pivotally, trading for the mercurial, transcendent wide receiver, Randy Moss. This was not an evolution. It was a declaration of war. With Moss came a new offensive philosophy, orchestrated by the ruthless, detail-obsessed mind of Bill Belichick, and executed with surgical precision by Tom Brady. The Patriots were no longer content to simply win. They were programmed to annihilate. The season opener against the New York Jets was a mere warm-up. In Week 2, they faced the San Diego Chargers, a talented team still seething from a playoff loss to New England the year before. The Patriots didn't just beat them, they humiliated them 38-14, and in the process, a switch was flipped. The following week, they hung 38 on the Buffalo Bills, then 34 on the Cincinnati Bengals, then 34 on the Cleveland Browns. The victories were not just wins. They were statements, each one more emphatic than the last. Brady, now armed with the deep threat weapon he had always lacked, was playing a different sport than every other quarterback. Moss was a nightmare in shoulder pads, a 6'4" blur who made defensive backs look like children. Wes Welker, a slot receiver acquired from Miami, was an unstoppable force in the short field, a metronome of first downs. The offense was a symphony of destruction, and Brady was its furious, flawless conductor. The narrative of invincibility grew with each passing week. They were not just beating teams. They were demoralizing them, running up scores with a cold-blooded efficiency that drew accusations of arrogance and poor sportsmanship. Belichick, a man who famously trafficked in moving on to the next opponent, seemed to be playing a longer game, building not just a winning team, but an immortal one. The pressure mounted inversely to the number of wins. Each victory brought them closer to history, but it also turned up the heat on the national stage. They were the villains everyone loved to hate, the Death Star of the NFL. The regular season culminated in a dramatic, record-shattering finale against the New York Giants. Brady broke Peyton Manning's single-season touchdown record with his 50th pass. Moss broke Jerry Rice's single-season receiving touchdown record with his 23rd catch. The Patriots won 38-35, completing the first 16-0 regular season in NFL history. They had conquered the marathon. Now, only a 3-game sprint stood between them and football Valhalla. The playoffs were a formality, a methodical dismantling of any remaining doubt. They crushed the Jacksonville Jaguars. They suffocated the San Diego Chargers in the AFC Championship game, despite Brady playing on a badly injured ankle. The final obstacle was the New York Giants, the same team they had narrowly defeated just weeks prior. But these were not the same Giants. Led by a ferocious 4-man defensive line that seemed to be hitting its peak at the perfect time, and a quarterback in Eli Manning who was playing with a quiet, unshakable confidence, they were a team of destiny in their own right. Yet, as Super Bowl XXIII unfolded in the University of Phoenix Stadium, the Patriots' perfection seemed destined to be fulfilled. It was an ugly, brutal, defensive struggle, the exact opposite of the shootout many had predicted. The Patriots' high-flying offense was grounded, battered by the relentless pass rush of Michael Strahan, Ozzie Umenyiora, and Justin Tuck. Brady was hit, hurried, and harassed as he had not been all season. For 3 quarters, the beautiful machine was sputtering, held to a mere 7 points. But with 2:42 left in the fourth quarter, it seemed the Patriots' sheer will, their ingrained greatness, would finally prevail. A touchdown pass to Randy Moss, a rare moment of connection in a stifled night, gave them a 14-10 lead. The Giants were 83 yards from the end zone with 1 timeout left. Perfection was 2 minutes and 42 seconds away. What happened next was not a football drive. It was a sequence of events that seemed to defy logic, probability, and the very laws of the game. Eli Manning, facing a 3rd and 5 from his own 44-yard line with 1:15 remaining, dropped back into a collapsing pocket. The Patriots' defense, which had been magnificent all night, broke through. Jarvis Green got a full hand on Manning's jersey, dragging him down. It should have been a sack. It should have set up a 4th and long, effectively ending the game. It should have sealed perfection. But Manning, in a moment of surreal strength and balance, somehow spun out of the grasp, scrambled away, and set his feet. Downfield, his receiver, David Tyree, a special teams ace with just 54 career catches, was engaged in a desperate physical battle with Patriots safety Rodney Harrison, one of the hardest-hitting defenders of his generation. Manning, with the blind faith of a man with no other options, launched the ball deep down the center of the field. The pass hung in the air for an eternity. A wounded duck carrying the weight of 2 franchises' histories. Tyree leaped, not with the grace of Randy Moss, but with the raw, determined effort of a man fighting for his football life. Harrison was right there, his body pressed against Tyree's, his own hand reaching for the ball. As they descended, Tyree pinned the football against the top of his own helmet with his right hand, a move so unorthodox it looked like a fumble in progress. Harrison, with perfect form, wrapped him up and drove him backward. But as they crashed to the turf, the impossible had happened. The ball, pressed against the crown of the Blue Giant's helmet, never moved. It was stuck there, as if by magnetic force or divine intervention. David Tyree had caught it. The helmet catch. In an instant, the paradigm shifted. The air left the Patriots' sideline. The inevitability that had surrounded them for 18 games evaporated. The Giants had life. A few plays later, Manning would find Plaxico Burress in the end zone for the game-winning touchdown. The final score, Giants 17, Patriots 14. Perfection was not just defeated. It was stolen in broad daylight on the world's biggest stage. The fallout was immediate and profound. For the Patriots, the locker room was a scene of utter devastation. Grown men, warriors who had dominated the league for 4 months, sat at their lockers in stunned silence, many openly weeping. Tom Brady, who had just completed one of the greatest statistical seasons by a quarterback in history, could only stare into the distance, his face a mask of disbelief and hollow shock. He had done everything asked of him. He had led his team to the brink of immortality, and it had been ripped away by a play that belonged in a backyard, not the Super Bowl. The helmet catch was not a reflection of his failure, yet its consequence would be a permanent asterisk on his greatest individual achievement. Bill Belichick, famously stoic, was visibly shaken, his grand design, his masterpiece, ruined in the most spectacularly cruel fashion imaginable. The why of the letdown is a complex tapestry woven from threads of opponent brilliance, razor-thin margins, and perhaps the immense psychological weight of the quest itself. The most direct cause was the Giants' defensive line. They provided the blueprint for beating the Patriots' offense, a relentless four-man pass rush that could disrupt Brady's timing without requiring blitzes, allowing the secondary to blanket Moss and Welker. For 3 quarters, they made the most potent offense in NFL history look ordinary. But the deeper analysis points to the fragility of perfection. The Patriots had played 18 consecutive games under a microscope, with every opponent treating their matchup as a Super Bowl. The pressure was a constant, cumulative force. While they never cracked during the regular season, the Super Bowl presented a unique set of circumstances. A superior opponent playing with nothing to lose, and the absolute, final, all-or-nothing nature of the moment. In a close game, it only takes one play to undo 18 games of work. The Patriots were a machine, but the helmet catch was a miracle. And machines are not built to account for miracles. The legacy of the 2007 season is one of the most complicated and haunting in sports history. For the Giants and Eli Manning, it was the birth of a legend, the moment he shed the label of Peyton's little brother, and became a giant slayer in his own right. For David Tyree, it was a career-defining moment so iconic that his entire football identity is wrapped up in those few seconds. But for Tom Brady and the Patriots, it is the ultimate what if. The 19-0 season remains the ghost in the machine of Brady's otherwise untouchable legacy. He would go on to win more Super Bowls, to break more records, to play deep into his 40s, cementing his status as the GOAT by any reasonable measure. Yet the one blemish, the one missing line on his resume, is that final, perfect season. The helmet catch did not make Tom Brady a letdown. His career is the antithesis of that. But it cost him perfection. It created a parallel universe of sports debate, a world where his greatness, while acknowledged, always comes with a caveat. He has the most rings, but he's the greatest, but he couldn't finish 19-0. The 2007 Patriots are remembered not as the greatest team of all time, but as the greatest team not to win it all. The helmet catch is the enduring symbol of that duality. It is the moment that proved that in sports, greatness can be accumulated through years of relentless work and supreme talent. But perfection is a fleeting, fragile thing, vulnerable to a single, desperate, and utterly improbable act of defiance. It is the ultimate legend and the ultimate letdown, forever intertwined in the story of one catch.